This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global at the headquarters of Mr. Frank Warren. It's Friday. The weekend is nearly here.
It is.
How are you, Frank?
I'm okay. You good?
Yeah. Good. Well, good. Let's start with obviously a huge night for Liam Smith tomorrow as he bids to become a two-time world champion. Disappointment, obviously, him having to pull out of the Saddam Ali fight back in May, but everything happens for a reason, and maybe it's destined that he becomes that champion again tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I really fancied him against Saddam Ali, but as you say, that he had this strange illness that he allergic reaction, so he was out of that. He's got a tough fight going in the other guy's basically backyard. He's supposed to be the new big best thing around, but Liam's a well-schooled boxer, and he's got a wealth of experience, and I believe that's going to stand him in good stead in this fight, because this guy's talking about coming out and taking Liam out early, throwing bombs with it, which I hope he does. Because if he's coming to do that, that will suit Liam.
As much as people are raving about this Jamie Munguia, if that's how you pronounce his name, he's a little bit of an unknown quantity in the level of opponents he's fought. Obviously, he's done what he's had to do, but he's in that regards a little bit unknown of exactly how good he is. I know that their side absolutely raves about him, so we'll have to see tomorrow.
Well, we will find out how good he is tomorrow, because if he's as good as they say he is, he's gonna have to be as good as they say he is to be in with a chance against Liam. So he's a young man. He's obviously he's got the bit between his teeth, but so is Liam. Liam's as I say, he's a real tough seasoned performer. I think he's the best out of the brothers, and he's done everything that's been asked for him. Except for the Canelo fight, and that was, as we all know, and it's not rubbish. He got to sustain a very bad cut going into that fight in his preparation and couldn't spar for 4 or 5 weeks. So everything's gone well for him this time, and fingers crossed we'll get the result.
I mean, there's no doubt about who's been in with the better of the opponents.
Oh, it's a different. When you look at their resumes, it's different class, isn't it?
Let's hope he can pull it off in Vegas.
No, I hope he does. He's a nice guy, and it'll be great for him, and great for British boxing.
And live on BT Sport as well.
It certainly is.
Okay, Frank.
Yes.
Coming on to Billy Joe Saunders. We believe purse bids are due on the 25th of July.
We asked for them. We made an offer to the management of Andrade, and they didn't even come back to us. So it's cut for it all. Let's go straight to the purse bids, and that's where we're at. So the purse bids are next Wednesday.
Okay. Is that a 75 or 80%?
Depends where the fight takes place.
Right. Okay.
So, but we got it is what it is, and the highest bidder will get it.
Do you see a situation where Andrade is pulled out of it?
Well, it's a funny thing. I mean, we asked for the purse bids basically to flush him out, because I see a couple of reports. One was on Boxing Scene saying that he wanted to have a warm-up fight before he fought Bill, which I'm certainly not going to stand for that. If you're number one, you're number one for a reason. So you shouldn't be having warm-up fights. You either are the number one challenger or you're not. So if he wants to fight, he's got to fight. If not, we go to the next available.
Obviously, Eddie Hearn announced him as a signing for Matchroom USA.
Yeah.
Did that, or has that made any difference to kind of the proceedings of Billy Joe fighting Andrade, or not really? The fact that he's
going to defend his title. We haven't got no problem with that. We've been trying to make the fight for the last couple of weeks. He signed with him. That's why we're going straight to the purse bids. Let's get it on, and whoever puts in the highest bid puts in the highest bid. If
you're not successful in the bid, Frank, would you be happy for Billy Joe to go and fight on the Zone, the network with Eddie?
What TV channel he fights on is in the States is irrelevant to me. I couldn't give a monkeys from that point of view. All I care about is Bill gets his fight, and that's it. And that's where we're at. If they win, they're going to have to bid a lot of money, because we're obviously in there bidding. It's not like Andrade is a huge attraction in the States, is he? So maybe they want to make a statement. If they're going to make a statement, then make it. Somebody told me about an interview Hearn done saying about Bill is in it for the money and whatever. We all know what he's in it for. Of course he's in it for the money. But any offers come through us. We're his promoter. We have an exclusive promotional agreement with him. So that's where we're at. And at the end of the day, as I say, it's a purse bid, and whoever wins, wins.
With Matchroom saying that he's scheduled to fight on the 6th of October, I believe. Who? Andrade.
Well, he can't. Purse bid's called. He can't fight before fighting Billy Joe Saunders. End of story. Otherwise, he disqualifies himself from the purse bid. That fight has to go on within so many days of the purse offer taking place. So if he's fighting on the 6th of October, how is he going to defend? Sorry, how is he going to challenge Bill? Not going to happen, is it?
In an interview I did with Eddie Hearn, he said that, or he suggested he would reach out to your team and see whether the
Well, he
fight
hasn't reached out to our
could be
team.
put later on in the year.
Well, no one's reached out for anybody. We've had no contact at all, and we are the exclusive promoters of Billy Joe Saunders. We've heard nothing.
There was also talk of the Martin Murray fight happening in September for Billy Joe.
Well, you know, look, you go down the list, you look at the list of champions. I mean, you know, you look at the list of fighters that are out there. Most of them are all have got big fights coming up. Bill's got a title. Obviously, the one we was looking for was trying to make the Golovkin fight, the Canelo fight. The Martin Murray fight fell through Bill pulling out twice through injury. That makes if Andrade was out, that's the fight that we would be, you know, looking towards. I mean, the next two guys in may have to fight in the box office. I don't know, but we'll see what happens next week when the purse bid takes place. But that purse bid will have to take place within the specified period. There's no fights in between. End of story.
Okay. Just coming back to the Martin Murray situation, obviously, when the fight was first announced, the build-up has kind of happened since the fight hasn't happened between the back and forth between him and Billy Joe, incidentally. So, I mean, if that...
Well, it's very disappointing, isn't it, for Martin, for the fans and whatever. But now Bill's in a position where, you know, time has been running out against him because he's been inactive since beating Lemieux. You know, he's 2 fights he's had to pull out through injury. So now we are where we are, and his mandatory's on him, and he has to defend his title. That's what he has to do against the first available challenger, who at the moment is Andrade.
What was the situation regarding James DeGale? Did you have talks with James?
Yeah, they just, at the end of the day, the monies were just ridiculous, you know, so it just couldn't be put together.
Obviously, he vacated the IBF title recently. Were you surprised, or do you know?
No, I
the
don't
reason
think he
behind
wanted
that,
to defend his title against the guy, did he? I mean, it's as simple as that. I think that's the bottom line of it, and I think he's looking for a... I get it, I understand where he's at. I think he's looking for a payday, and I think he's probably looking for a fight down the road with George Groves. That's what it seems to me, or maybe Eubanks. But he don't want to fight Bill, that's for sure.
You didn't toy with the possibility of that Eubank rematch for Billy Joe?
Could you trust them? I mean, I've had signed contracts with them and they pull out of fights. You know, we wound up in court over that.
It's still a massive fight, though, isn't it?
Of course, not a problem with me. You know, of course, it's a massive fight, but you're dealing with, as I said, you're dealing with Looney Tunes. So how do you make that work?
The World Boxing Series Cruiserweight Finals tomorrow night in Russia.
Yeah.
Which I believe your son Francis is actually.
Exactly, with 2 of our guys.
So Terry Flanagan was added to that mix this week, which is interesting. Which obviously includes the likes of Josh Taylor in there as well. So, and obviously you've got Solani Teti.
Correct.
And the fight with Ryan Burnett could happen if they win their first fights.
Well, that's why he's in there, you know, to make that fight. But you know, Zolani's a top quality operator. He's not fazed by fighting anybody. It's quite actually. I think that division is quite that's quite an exciting little scenario there. So we'll see what happens.
And with Terry Flanagan, it seems the right thing for Terry to do. Obviously, off the back of that defeat.
We couldn't make the Hooker fight. We wanted to make a rematch with the Hooker fight. It was a very close fight. Shitty, bad scoring in the fight, but it was a close fight. We tried, but we couldn't make the rematch because Hooker's going to have his mandatory. I think it's pronounced his name right, Salcedo, and that for him, that's going to be a tough fight for him. But he's got that fight, I think, on his plate coming up, so that's going to be his first defence.
There was rumours of Jack Catterall going into this tournament. Frank, was that any?
No, Jack is going to be in a position where he's going to be fighting. And we're quite close to getting it together, him and Ahara Davis, and we want to make that fight for the autumn. And the winner of that will be, I would believe, would get into a position where they may become a mandatory.
Brilliant fight between. I mean, it's the most logical fight, to happen.
We want to see, isn't it?
Definitely. Is there a chance that could be on your bill in September?
Yeah. Well, we would love to have announced it all, but the problem is that because this Andrade situation's all up in the air. You know, we don't know where we are until next Wednesday, so we'll see what occurs.
But yeah, the winner of Catterall and Davies, if obviously hopefully the fight is made, puts him in a strong position. What happens to who doesn't come out on top of that, Frank?
Right, listen, people lose, don't they? You know, Chris Eubanks lost against Billy Joe Saunders and got himself back into a situation where he got himself into some contention and fought for a title. It's not the end of the world for a loser. It's how you lose. But it's a good fight. And who knows, it might be such a great fight, they might make a rematch.
It's definitely a great fight, so hope you announce that
at the top of their game, two guys at the top of their game.
Yeah.
Not an old guy fighting a young guy, a new kid on the block fighting the old.
It's a real pick 'em as well. It's quite hard to
I mean, it's
split
two.
them two,
I know. I mean, a lot of people I've discussed with it. They've all got. No one's got the same opinion about the fight. That's for sure. But it'd be a cracking fight.
Obviously, about a week and a half ago, you announced Tyson Fury's opponent for the Belfast card on August the 18th. So, yeah, obviously a definite step up from his last opponent in former world title challenger.
You know, it is what it is, the fight. You know, he's a special attraction on that card. We got 2 title fights on there, involving 2 really good quality Irish boxers in Carl Frampton and Paddy Barnes, and obviously he's on it. Tyson's on it as well. So, you know, it's just part of his continuing quest to get back into a position where he can fight for the titles that he never lost in the ring.
I'm assuming you were obviously talking to quite a few opponents regarding Fury. Did you find themselves kind of asking for silly money to?
Yeah, of course they do, and I don't. You know, I understand that. Of course they're asking for it, but at the end of the day, you've got to make the fights. You've got to make them work. So that's our job to do, and that's what we've done. And I think we delivered somebody, you know, for this stage of the game is going to be, you know, we're going to get some rounds out of him. He's a big guy, 6'5", so people who are sort of anti-small heavyweights, they should be pleased about that.
But we're hoping we're going to see a little bit more of the old Tyson Fury, if you like.
Well, you know, he's
had that one out the way.
He's got that one out the way. You know, whether nerves, whatever you want to call it, you know, the fact he's been out the ring for a while, all those factors are in it. This time round, I think Ben, his trainer, has also said, we don't want no messing around. It's down to business and get straight on with it. And that's what happened.
You must be close to full capacity of that one, Frank. It can't be far off.
I think we're about 20,000. I think we may have about 1,500, 1,600 tickets left.
Belfast will be.
We've got a long time to go yet.
Yeah. You've got what? Just about a month.
Yeah.
Roughly.
So it'll be nice. It'll be a great atmosphere, and I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. Obviously, just away from your stable for a minute, Joshua-Povetkin was announced a couple of days ago. What did you think of that fight, Frank?
Yeah, it's a decent fight. Povetkin's, he's an old campaigner. He's dangerous. He'll be dangerous for 3 or 4 rounds. Then, normally what happens in fights with him, he starts running out of gas. But it's a decent fight for him. I'd have preferred to see him in with Wilder, but obviously that wasn't to be.
You still think that fight will happen?
I don't know. Don't seem like they want it, do they?
You think it's on Matchroom's side that don't want it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. They don't want it.
Right.
They don't want it.
So
Robert McCracken doesn't want it. I mean, everybody knows that. And I told you from the beginning, when they were all talking about this fight, what did I say who he'd fight?
I believe you did say that, yes.
Yeah, I know I said it. I said it months before. I said he'd be fighting Povetkin. And that's how it turned out to be.
Well, the date's there for them, April the 13th next year at Wembley, so
we'll see.
We'll wait and see. Obviously, Matchroom obviously announced their US signings a press conference this week. Did you keep up to date with that, Frank?
Yeah, I've seen they've signed a few fighters in the States,
yeah.
Is it Hooker and Andrade and I can't think of the other one is,
Jesse Vargas, Peterbiev. Yeah, so, any thoughts on that, Frank? Or
decent signings, aren't they? They're not, they ain't the massive box office stars, that's for sure, but they are what they are.
Do you believe this, the subscription with DAZN in America, believe that worked, Frank?
I don't know, what price they're charging?
I think it's $9.99.
No, well, that's nearly double what ESPN charge. I think they're $4.50. And they've got Bob Arum Stadium, so for that you can watch Crawford, you can watch Lomachenko and all these other star fighters for $4.50, and you get UFC, and you get American football, and you get a few other sports. So, I think they've got their jobs out. But I know what it's all about, starting a channel. I've done it, been there, done that. 6 years ago we started our channel. It's tough, it's hard work, it's hard. And it's something that it took us a long, long time to get sorted. It won't happen overnight. And if they're charging just under $10, and you've obviously got to take the tax off of that and all the bits, all the running costs and so forth. They're going to have to get a lot of subscribers in to pay all these purses of this $1 billion they're going to be laying out. So they're going to have to get the subscribers in. So it's going to be interesting, and it'll be a challenge for them whether they can do that or not. So time will tell.
BoxNation recently announced they're doing 12 dates with MTK Global, which is great. Obviously,
great for the fans. They've seen some good domestic boxing.
Absolutely. How would you kind of sum up where BoxNation is at the moment, Frank?
I think it's in a very good place. They're bringing some of the best fights from around the world. There'll be some domestic fights. I know they're in the process of discussing and working on another couple of deals. So I think they're in a good position, very good position at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, we look forward to. Obviously, they're kicking off in Glasgow on the 24th of August.
Yeah.
So 12 dates should be good. So what else has been going on, Frank, in the world of Frank Warren?
Well, what else we've got going? We've just been working hard. We're putting some shows together. We've got a lot of things. We're working on something very big at the moment, which I can't discuss, but it is quite big, and hopefully it will materialise. And I think everybody will be quite shocked at what we're doing, but it's quite big.
Okay. No inklings at all there, Frank?
Not even a slightest one.
What situation regarding your kind of Anthony Yards, Daniel Dubois, obviously them for the new season?
They got, it's all about stepping them up now. We tried to make Gary Cornish with Daniel, but he didn't want to know. So we're looking at a couple of other fights for him at the moment. And Anthony, I'm meeting with Tundi. I think it's the end of next week, and we're going to sit down and discuss opponents for the autumn.
I'm assuming that those guys will feature on a show in September.
Yeah, they'll be busy. I want to make at least twice before Christmas, or maybe more, but certainly no less than twice. We've got some good youngsters that we're working on as well.
How many shows do we have in September? Do you know?
I'm not sure at the moment because it's all up in the air with this purse bid situation. So it depends on what the outcome of the purse bid is before we decide what we're actually going to do. I wish this had happened at least a month ago, and then we'd have been all set up and announced. And they probably got as well that you come up to holiday period now. People are going away on their holidays, taking their kids away, so you've got a dead period, and it's not ideal. But anyway, it is what it is, and we'll see what happens next week.
Frank, obviously, Carl Frampton's got this fight with Luke Jackson on August the 18th, which must come through. But any sort of progression or looking towards Warrington and Frampton?
Well, I don't want to tempt fate, but as you say, he's got to come through it, Carl. If he comes through it, I'm hoping we can make that fight. But that's I don't want to focus on that, man. I want to focus on Carl winning his fight against Jackson, because we've seen upsets. We see what happened with Truax and DeGale. We see with the guy who's fighting Paddy Barnes. He went to Japan and big underdog out there. He won the title out there, and now he's coming to Ireland. So these things happen. So Carl's got to be top of the game, come through that fight, which I hope he'll do, and then we can consider that fight.
Will Josh Warrington fight before they meet, or
we'll
not?
See what happens on the 18th.
Yeah.
It's only a month away now, so we'll see.
But you're looking to do that towards the end of the year if Frampton comes through.
We want to get it on. We want to get the fight on. Fans want it. We want to deliver it.
But an arena fight, not obviously you can't.
Well, you got that time of the year. That's where we are, So that's where we're at. But it's a big fight.
You're going to toss a coin where it is.
Neutral territory. Well, that's what we'll have to do, won't we? We'll have to look at it.
That's the fairest way, I suppose. But.
Yeah. But wherever it is, it's going to be a great fight.
Obviously, Frank, as long as I've been interviewing you, you've always spoken about the issue of rehydration and the dangers surrounding that, and it was highlighted in the Boxing News magazine again recently. So, it's.
Well, it's funny. I was reading the Boxing News. You mentioned that, and they sort of mentioned in there about boxers got to take it more seriously. Not the boxers, the trainers. They're the ones. They're the ones who were the fighters. They're the people who are, they're training the fighters. Obviously, the boxers got a responsibility, but this rehydration, it came into being when I first got involved in boxing. The weigh-ins were on the day of a fight, so that didn't give fighters, and there were 15 rounders. That didn't give fighters a lot of time to rehydrate. The main reason is all this dehydration is because the brain sits in fluid. And if you're dehydrating, that fluid obviously is not there, or is less fluid, and that can cause injuries to the brain because it protects the brain inside the skull. So that's what dehydration about. That's why they brought in weigh-ins the day before the fights and so forth. And suddenly the Boxing News, I've seen that they're on one about it. They come up. I've been banging on about it for ages, and it is very important that not just the boxers, the trainers understand this and understand the consequences. What may happen on the night, very, very rarely, is boxers have been involved in bad injuries and on very rare occasion fatalities due to this. And we should be doing our best to protect them from that and helping them through that. And it's why I kept banging on about that time when Barry Hearn was sitting in a sauna with his fighter out in the States. Was it a couple of years ago? Where a fighter, I can't remember his name now, who had struggled to make the weight in his previous fight, and his son tweeted that he can't lose any more weight. That was the night before the fight. If that's what your promoter's doing with you, Jesus, what chance has the fighter's got? So everybody has to understand that and understand the consequences of it. It's not about the money all the time. The money it's the most important aspect of it is the health.
Okay.
And the education, and knowing what the consequences, and knowing what it's about, not just thinking about the few quid all the time.
Is that what you believe, that it's people being kind of a little bit uneducated about them situations?
Well, you've got to remember it again, and because I'm old enough, I can say it. I keep saying about how it was when I got involved in boxing. There weren't a lot of junior weight divisions. You either fought at middleweight or you fought at light heavyweight. You fought at welterweight or you fought at middleweight. There was no junior middleweights or super welterweights, whatever you want to call them these days. There was none of those junior weights. They were all brought in because of the difficulties of fighters who were stuck in between those weight divisions and the problems they had in making the weight. So that's why they won. That was all brought in for health and safety, and all that aspects of it has all gone out the window. People forget about all that stuff. That's why it was brought in. It's very, very important, and it's important that boxers, and more importantly the trainers, and more importantly, promoters, certainly like Barry Hearn. I mean, he was involved in a terrible situation with Michael Watson. He should know better than sitting in a sauna with a boxer doing weight the night before the fight when he can't get any weight out of him. Boxers shouldn't be in the sauna, but that's what he did, and that is wrong. There's no in between about it. It's wrong. That should not be happening, and we got to lead. You've got to lead by example, and education. I mean, trainers are supposed to have a diary on each fighter. What you weigh in. Fighter goes in the gym on the daytime. What do you weigh? You train. What did he weigh when he left the gym? You weigh him back the next day. You're keeping an eye on their weight. That's what used to happen. And I know there are a few trainers don't even do that. Don't even take them near scales. I mean, how many fights we had recently over the last few years where fighters are coming in way over the weight on the day of a show? Now that's unfair to the fighter they're fighting, who's got to give weight away if he chooses to carry on with the fight. And we've seen that happen so many times, and that is wrong. It's not acceptable. It's not good enough. Trainer has an obligation with the fighter and the manager, whoever who's ever in charge there, to ensure that these things are done correctly, and not bums rush at the end. Look, stick him in a sauna, they come sweat it out all week. Imagine how draining, how dehydrating and debilitating that is. It's wrong.
Okay, Frank. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it, mate.
Yeah?
That's it, yeah.
Quiet weekend for you?
Yeah, I couldn't go out to the States, and with Liam, I'd like to go on, but we had a personal thing in my family, so I'm not allowed to travel him, so I'll be glued to the TV watching him, and fingers crossed he'll come through.
Absolutely. Frank Warren, thank you very much for talking to
KUGAN.
IFL TV, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you, mate.